Kanto looks like an adventure. A kid with a backpack, tall grass, friendly professors handing out starter Pokémon. But underneath all of that, Kanto is a region shaped by crime, grief, and experiments that should never have happened. The most obvious place to start is Lavender Town, where the Pokémon Tower stands as a mass grave for every Pokémon killed by Team Rocket's poaching operations. The man who tends to it, the gentle Mister. Fuji is actually Dr. Fuji, the same scientist who helped create Mewtwo in the Cinnabar Island laboratory. Those mansion journals document the process in cold, clinical language. A creature born from Mew's DNA, grown in a tank, immediately subjected to enhancement experiments, and then left to destroy the lab when it broke free. Mewtwo didn't escape into freedom. It escaped into rage. Meanwhile, back in Lavender Town, a ghost roams the tower that cannot be caught, only laid to rest. A Marowak, murdered by Team Rocket, whose child still carries her skull as a weapon. The game lets you walk past this. A 10-year-old eventually dismantles the entire criminal organization occupying Sylph Co., while the Champion and Elite Four apparently had better things to do. Kanto's darkness isn't hidden. It's just quiet enough that most people miss it on the first playthrough. Johto is built on the bones of things that burned. The Tin Tower in Ecruteak City once housed Ho-Oh, who watched over 3 Pokémon, until humans burned the tower down out of fear, curiosity, or both, depending on who you ask. Those 3 Pokémon died in the fire. The games never confirm what those 3 Pokémon were before the fire, or how each one died. Only that 3 nameless Pokémon perished and were reborn. Fan theory has long connected each beast to a specific death: lightning, flame, and water, based on their typing, but the games leave it deliberately open. Ho-Oh resurrected all 3, but resurrection in Pokemon lore doesn't mean restoration. It means being remade in the shape of your death, carrying it forever. Meanwhile, in Azalea Town, Team Rocket has been severing tails from living Slowpoke and selling them as luxury food, after first poisoning the town's well to ensure no one could resist. This is not implied. It is stated plainly. The larger Rocket operation in Johto is stranger still. Giovanni disbanded Team Rocket between generations, and the entire Gen 2 conflict is a dead criminal empire refusing to accept it's over, broadcasting radio signals trying to reach a boss who has already quit. The Lake of Rage's red Gyarados exists because every Magikarp in that lake was being forcibly mutated by those radio signals. The ones that couldn't survive the process simply died. Johto is a region still grieving, and it shows. Hoenn gives you 2 villain teams and lets you pick which apocalypse to prevent, which sounds like a game mechanic until you read what both of them actually believe. Maxie of Team Magma wants to expand landmass to give humanity more room to grow. Archie of Team Aqua wants to expand the ocean to restore the natural world that humans have destroyed. Both are willing to awaken ancient gods and end the world to do it. And both are responding to real environmental problems, taken to their most catastrophic conclusions. The Cave of Origin exists because Groudon and Kyogre's ancient war was so destructive that it permanently scarred the planet's geology, and Rayquaza only intervened to stop them, not because it cared about the humans caught in between. Manit. Pyre, sitting quietly in the middle of all this, is a cemetery where trainers bring their dead Pokémon. An elderly couple guards it. They have been there a long time. They will be there longer. The abandoned ship drifts offshore with items hidden in rooms that feel deliberately forgotten, implying passengers who didn't make it off. And in Slateport's museum, ancient artifacts document a prehistoric civilization that witnessed the Groudon and Kyogre War firsthand and nearly didn't survive it. Nobody alive in Hoenn fully understands how close their ancestors came to extinction. The flowers are still beautiful, though. Sinnoh's villain doesn't want power. He doesn't want money, or control, or a better world. Cyrus wants to destroy the concept of human emotion entirely and rebuild the universe without what he considers a fundamental flaw in its design. He is not exaggerating. He is not using this as political rhetoric. He genuinely believes that spirit and feeling are defects, and his plan involves capturing Dialga and Palkia, the gods of time and space, to collapse the current universe and construct a new one from scratch. He nearly does it. The distortion world, where Giratina lives, is not a villain's lair in the traditional sense. It is a dimensional prison. Arceus created Giratina, decided it was too violent, and banished it to a realm of reversed physics, where gravity bends sideways, where platforms float in impossible configurations, alone, indefinitely. We walk through it like a dungeon. Team Galactic's campaign also includes detonating a bomb at Lake Valor to drain it completely, capturing the Lake Guardian Azelf in the chaos. It is one of the most overtly violent acts any villain team commits in the entire franchise, and the game presents it with the same matter-of-fact tone as everything else. Somewhere above all of this, Arceus created the gods of time, space, and antimatter, and the entire universe depends on their continued existence. Cyrus stood within reach of unraveling all of it. Unova N was given to Ghetsis as an infant and raised in isolation from other humans, surrounded exclusively by Pokémon that had been abused, abandoned, or mistreated, specifically so that he would develop a genuine belief that Pokémon and humans should be separated. Ghetsis engineered N's entire ideology from childhood, because a true believer makes a more convincing figurehead than a liar. N's full name is Natural Harmonia Gropius. He named the Pokémon he traveled with. He talked to them the way a lonely child talks to the only friends he has ever had. And every piece of his worldview, his compassion, his anger, his dream, was deliberately cultivated by a man who saw him as a tool and nothing else. When Ghetsis reveals this at the end of Black and White, he does it in front of everyone, dismantling N publicly, calling him a freak who was never capable of understanding humans and never will be. N's castle rises from the earth beneath the Pokémon League at the game's climax, a structure built in complete secrecy over years, hidden directly under the institution meant to represent Pokémon training's highest achievement. In Black 2 and White 2, Ghetsis attempts to use Kyurem to freeze the player character alive. The 7 sages, confirmed through post-game side quests, genuinely believed in Pokémon liberation. Ghetsis never did. He just wanted to be the only person in the world with Pokémon, which would make him the only person with power. N was crying before the credits rolled. The game earned it. Kalos 3,000 years before the events of X and Y, the king of Kalos lost his Floette in a war, and he could not accept it. He built a weapon, the ultimate weapon, powered by absorbing the life force of every Pokémon on the continent. Millions of them. The energy of their deaths resurrected Aisha and ended the war, and the king, AZ, was cursed with immortality for what he had done. He is still alive during the events of the games, wandering, standing over 3 meters tall, carrying a small Floette he hasn't seen in 3,000 years, because she left him when she learned the truth. She spent those 3,000 years away from him. The post-game reunion between AZ and his Floette is completely wordless. Lysandra, who plans to use the ultimate weapon again, believes the world's resources are running out and that mass death is more merciful than slow collapse. He is wrong about the solution. He is not entirely wrong about the problem. The Pokémon Village exists because enough trainers have abandoned their Pokémon that the abandoned ones needed somewhere to go. Somewhere they could hide from humans entirely. It is a peaceful place. The peace is devastating. Kalos is the most beautiful region in the franchise, and it is soaked in the consequence of what people do when they love something so much they destroy everything else to keep it. Alola. Alola is paradise, which makes what happens underneath it so much worse. The Ether Foundation presents itself as a Pokémon conservation organization, and its headquarters is a gleaming white artificial island floating in the middle of the ocean. Inside, Lusamine has been freezing Pokémon in amber to preserve their beauty forever, conducting experiments on Ultra Beasts, and neglecting her children, Lily and Gladion, to a degree that left both of them psychologically fractured. Gladion left home as a child, rather than stay, taking type Null, a Pokémon engineered using DNA from legendary Pokémon associated with Arceus, because it was being used as a weapon, and he wanted to free it. He lived on the streets. He was a kid. Nihilego, the jellyfish-like Ultra Beast that Lusamine became obsessed with, is classified as a neurotoxin-producing extra-dimensional organism that specifically targets the brain's reward system, amplifying recklessness and obsession. Lusamine's fixation on the Ultra Beasts was not entirely her own unaltered mind making those choices. The game does not use this as an excuse. It uses it as a complication. The Tapus are guardian deities who are explicitly dangerous, their protection inseparable from their destructive capacity, and the ruins where you battle them are ruins because of what they've done. Alola is warm. The ocean is blue. Underneath it, two children are still figuring out if they're allowed to go home. Galar Galar's villain causes an immediate catastrophe to prevent a hypothetical one that won't arrive for 1,000 years. Rose, chairman of the Pokémon League and the most powerful man in the region, restarts the darkest day. The ancient energy crisis in which the alien Pokémon Eternatus, having arrived on a meteorite approximately 20,000 years prior, began feeding on Galar's life energy and nearly consumed it. Because he calculated that Galar's energy reserves will run dry in roughly a millennium, and he wanted to trigger the crisis, while a hero still existed, to stop it. He caused real, immediate harm to guarantee a solution to a problem that wouldn't affect anyone alive. He is not a hypocrite. He is completely sincere, which is almost worse. Eternatus' arrival so long ago altered the ecosystem. Galarian regional forms exist in part because an extraterrestrial energy event mutated the local evolutionary environment. In the Crown Tundra, Calyrex was once a revered king who lost his steed, and with it his power, and has spent centuries as a tiny, forgotten deity wandering his old kingdom, unable to perform even minor miracles without help. He asks you to help him catch his horse. He used to rule everything you can see. The present tends to be less kind to gods than the past was. Paldea's darkness lives in Area Zero, a crater at the center of the region where time flows differently, and paradox Pokémon from both the ancient past and the distant future coexist in a space that shouldn't be possible. The Professor, Sada in Scarlet, Turo in Violet, spent years descending into that crater alone, researching, and eventually died there. Before dying, they created an AI replica of themselves and programmed it to continue the mission. The AI outlived the original. It kept working. It lost track of why it was working, or perhaps never understood that the mission was supposed to have a human purpose, not just a research purpose. Arvin, their child, spent years believing his parent simply did not care about him, that the absence was indifference. The truth is more complicated and arguably more painful. His parent cared so completely about the work that everything else, including their child, got left behind. The AI they left behind has the same voice, the same face, and does not fully understand what it's missing. Team Star, the game's supposed villain group, was founded by teenagers who were bullied so severely that the school administration did nothing, and who eventually built their own community because no official structure protected them. Their bases are loud and neon lit, and full of kids who finally feel safe somewhere. The game's antagonist structure keeps insisting they're the problem. They are clearly not the problem. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.